Russell Brand, Narcissist, Part 10. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. Before I continue with an examination of further evidence in relation to Russell Brand, there's something I wish to make clear. It's apparent from some of the comments that have appeared that there are a number of people who are hard of understanding, who don't realise that this is nothing to do with whether Russell Brand is a good person or a bad person. That's irrelevant. It's all about assessing what he is. I have been working through evidence from a variety of sources. Some paints him in a poor light, some paints him in a good light. Some of it paints him in a light dependent on your own perspective. For instance, if you think that certain of his behaviours is entertaining or whether you think that it's irritating. But the point is, in determining what he is, whether he's a narcissist, whether he's a normal, an empath or narcissistic, that is not a judgment on whether he's a good or a bad person. You apply that judgment. I'm just categorising him. Yes, it is the case that obviously, should he be found to be a narcissist, that is generally a stigmatic term, but I don't use it as such, simply because I'm one myself. It is a categorisation, and it is for others to make a determination as to whether they think if somebody is a narcissist, does that mean that they are a bad person or a good person? Indeed, life is not always as straightforward as that. But to those who think that this is part of some concerted character assassination of Russell Brand, I would suggest that you actually try listening and actually try and understand what's being said. And if you continue to maintain that in the comment section after I've said this, well, that just makes you a fucking idiot. The idea is to determine evidence from lots of different sources and then apply that evidence to make a determination as to what he is. It's not to say whether he's good or whether he's bad. With that stated, previously we had the opportunity to examine an interview when he was calmed down and appeared to be working through his issues. Now we're going to hear a greater detail from one of his accusers. Bear in mind that there has been no criminal conviction of Russell Brand, that these are simply allegations that have been put forward, and you can attribute whatever evidential weight you wish to it. Some of you will believe what is being stated about him, others will reject it, others will see it in less black and white terms. The point is, it demonstrates a particular aspect of his character, if accepted, and therefore we take this into the mix amongst everything else. It is not a foregone conclusion that this evidence is to be accepted, nor does it necessarily mean that it is determinative as to what he is. We have to look at a range of behaviours over a sustained period of time. Nevertheless, it has some weight because it has arisen from an investigation and therefore has some probative value. When Nadia began her treatment at a medical centre for victims of rape, she struggled to verbalise what had just happened to her. I literally couldn't say the word rape, she reflects. I couldn't believe that could happen to anyone I know, as silly as that was. But by the end of it, I was like, oh my God, he raped me. It was summer 2012 and her assailant, Nadia claims, was Russell Brand, the actor and comedian who at that point was at the height of his fame and living in Los Angeles. He had recently starred alongside Tom Cruise in the Hollywood blockbuster Rock of Ages and was preparing to host his own late-night chat show, Brand X, following the end of his brief marriage to Katy Perry, the pop star. Nadia says that in the months after they first met at a party in Los Angeles, Brand invited her to his home, and when she arrived, he told her that a friend was already in the bedroom and they wanted her to join them. Attempt to have a threesome, sense of entitlement, lack of boundary recognition. Nadia said that she made it clear that she didn't want a threesome. She says Brand pushed her up against a wall and raped her without using a condom. Brand strenuously denied all the allegations and says that all his relationships have been consensual. Accordingly, either this act did not happen, or it did happen and it was consensual, or it did happen and it was not consensual. You can make a determination in that regard vis-à-vis the other evidence that you have heard. If it is the case that it took place, this would show a lack of boundary recognition and an absence of emotional empathy. If it didn't take place, then there is nothing to be gleaned from it. Concerned that she was small and insignificant compared to a major celebrity and scared of the implications for herself and her family, she says she decided not to report the alleged attack to the police and told only a trusted handful of close friends and the medical team that treated her at a rape centre following the alleged attack. But more than a decade later, after hearing that the Times and the Sunday Times were investigating Brand's treatment of women during his career, she decided that she was ready to speak publicly. Again, you can make your own mind up about whether you believe the veracity of her reasons for coming forward. I think it's time. I'm stronger now to talk about it, she tells me during one of our first phone conversations, after we were introduced by one of her friends. Whereas at the time I was so depleted of everything that I thought I was worth nothing, and that is not true. I am a stronger woman because of it. I just want to help make a change because I know it's not just me that was hurt by this. When I heard that you were doing this, I was like, okay, I'm ready to do this now. Before, I wouldn't have been. I don't think I would have been strong. Referring to Brand's public image as a wellness influencer, she claims, he's saying one thing, and I know the demon underneath it. Is it the case that if she's accurate about that, is that him showing a particular front to the world and then him responding differently? During the months after Nadia and I are first introduced, this is the journalist, we shared dozens of messages by email and phone, speak regularly, and meet up in a quiet hotel garden in London and a cafe in Los Angeles, just a few miles from where Brand lived in Hollywood. Nadia, whose identity is being protected, had kept records from the period of her life when she met Brand. She never deleted text messages that they had exchanged or her call records, and she had photographs of the medicines that she had been prescribed by the Rape Treatment Centre to prevent sexually transmitted infections. She describes sending a letter to Brand in the months after her alleged attack and has kept a version on her computer that has not been modified since September 2012. An excerpt from that letter states, "I'm completely disgusted in the way you treated me. Sad that I trusted you, very angry with you and myself for getting sucked into your narcissistic world. Do you know what you put me through, my body through?" After deciding to share her experience, Nadia also requested her full dossier of notes and records from the Rape Treatment Centre, which detailed the extensive therapy she required in the months afterwards. Brand had filed for divorce from Perry in late 2011, and he met Nadia a short time after. Nadia, who lives in LA and was in her 30s at the time, had gone to a trial run for his new show. There was an after party. I'd never met Russell before, ever, and he literally made a beeline for me and said, "I want to meet you," she says. We were chatting backstage and he leaned in and kissed me straight away. Lack of boundary recognition, seduction. I was kind of shocked because it was very, very quick, and he's like, "I'm going to call you." I'm like, "Okay." And then his bodyguards walked me and my girlfriend out. In a photograph from the event, Brand can be seen looking directly into Nadia's eyes as they stand close together. The way he just looks at you, he's very intense with him trying to get my attention, she says. Might this be the narcissist stare in action? The first messages on her phone from Brand began in May 2012, and they began chatting regularly, speaking on the phone as well as by text. In one text message he writes, "You are delicious. Kiss." Potential flattery. The following month they had consensual sex at Brand's house in Hollywood. I did go round to his place and we did have sex. He's like, "Do you want to use a condom or not use a condom?" And I'm like, "No, absolutely we're using a condom." And he did respect my wishes then, she recalls. Recognition of boundaries. But he did have a whole glazed over look. He does this thing when he glazes over, and I don't know if he's listening. I don't know what's going on in his head. It was fine, but it was a weird first-time experience with someone when you're having sex with them for the first time. This glazing over may be the fact that if Brand is a narcissist, that he's essentially masturbating with the body of Nadia, and he's going elsewhere, lost within his own self. Several days later, Brand messaged suggesting she bring a friend. When Nadia made a remark about this, Brand added, "I feel like I require a little chaos." Nadia then tells me about the next time she saw Brand at his house. July the 1st, 2012 was when my rape happened, she says. I was out late and he happened to call me and say, "I've had a really bad day, please come over." And I at first said, "No, I'm not going, it's late." And he's like, "Please come, just come and cuddle with me." So I gave in and I'm like, okay. Despite her initial reluctance to go over so late, she says that Brand was someone she felt safe with at that point. The door was unlocked when Nadia arrived, and she walked straight in. She was wearing a dress with a coat on top and had a bag on her shoulder. Brand emerged from the bedroom naked, according to Nadia. She remembers him making a comment along the lines of, "I'll keep you safe." Might this be false compassion? He came at me with kisses and stuff, which was kind of fun, and then it wasn't that fun when I couldn't move or I knew what he wanted from me at that point, she says. He pushed me up against a wall and I'm like, "What are you doing?" And he's like, "I have a friend here and I want you to come in the bedroom." I'm like, "No, that's not happening. We're not doing that." Nadia says she tried to get away from him and moved away from the wall she was standing against. And then I went to another wall that had a painting on it, she says, a huge painting, and my bag got actually stuck underneath that, and it's still on my arm. And at this point, he's grabbing at my underwear, pulling it to one side. I'm telling him to get off me, and he won't get off. And he has that glazed look in his eye again. If this occurred, this would be Brand acting with a sense of entitlement and a lack of accountability for his behaviours. Brand, Nadia claims, raped her without a condom. I was so distraught trying to get out of the house with him being so much taller than me, like holding me up against the wall, pushing himself in me, she says. All the time, I'm like, there's somebody in the bedroom listening to this. Why are they not coming out to help me, she says. She couldn't move, and all I could think of was, how am I going to get out of here alive, basically. Brand then blocked the door, according to Nadia, who says he only stood to the side after she told him she needed the bathroom. She ran out and got into her car, where she recalled sitting for a short period. At 3:29 a.m, Brand sent Nadia a text message. He wrote, "I'm sorry, that was crazy and selfish. I hope you can forgive me. I know that you're a lovely person." He tried phoning her at 3:51 a.m, but the call went unanswered. The US phone number that Brand used to send the messages has been verified by multiple sources. Accordingly, that evidence tends to suggest that he realised that something wrong had happened and was offering what would appear to be false contrition. She did not reply to Brand's text until 10:59 a.m. She texted, "You scared the shit out of me. You're right, I'm a lovely person, and for you to take advantage of me like that is unexpectable. You have a problem, you need help. It's dangerous that you think you can get your own way all the time. Do you know how scary you are when that glazed look comes over you? When a girl says no, it means no. Do I have to go and get myself tested? Last time you asked me condom or no condom. When I say condom, that doesn't mean it's optional. You don't have the best reputation. I pride myself on being safe and trying to make the right decisions. Obviously, this was a bad one. I'm so disappointed." Brand replied, "I'm very sorry. You don't need to get tested. I will make this up to you somehow with live," meaning love, "and kindness. Not my original idea, which was more sex. You've been lovely to me, and I'm embarrassed by my behaviour. Sorry. Kiss." Nadia, meanwhile, had spoken to a close friend who took her to the UCLA Santa Monica Medical Center's Rape Treatment Center the same day. Nadia's medical notes state that a named officer from the Los Angeles Police Department was alerted. Nadia declined to make a police report, but provided her underwear and other samples of evidence, which were frozen. She went on to receive therapy sessions for the next 5 months. The notes show that when she was first seen on July 1st, 2012, she was described as friendly and engaging, but intermittently tearful and seemingly overwhelmed. The notes state the victim's primary concern while at the RTC was protecting her reputation, as she was worried that if her assailant's name is somehow released, that her name will be dragged through the dirt. A write-up of the initial assessment on July the 1st described how she had gone over to the unnamed assailant's house earlier that day before he kissed her. The notes state after several minutes, the assailant said, "You know I'm going to take care of you, that I'm not going to hurt you, right? Are you ready for an adventure?" Per victim, she learned that the assailant was referring to a sexual adventure that included other women. Victim reported that she was appalled and refused to engage in any sexual acts that involved other women. After she refused, the assailant repeated, "I'm not going to hurt you," and started kissing the victim again. According to the victim, he then pushed her up against the wall, separated her legs with his leg, moved her underwear to the side and vaginally penetrated her, ejaculating inside her once he was finished. Per victim, she attempted to leave his home, but he would not allow her to do so, as he was blocking the door. That's taken from contemporaneous notes that originated following the alleged act. Again, you can make a determination yourself as to the probity value of that material. While Brand is not identified by name in the medical notes from the Rape Treatment Centre, there are various references that correlate with his life at that time. In August 2012, Brand had appeared on top of a bus painted with a psychedelic design. He was dressed as Willy Wonka, grinning in a purple top hat as he performed a Beatles song. A week earlier, he had texted Nadia for the first time since the aftermath of the alleged attack. "Will you ever forgive me? Kiss," the text show. Nadia was considering criminal or civil proceedings and ultimately decided against them. She then sent a letter to Brand because she wanted to ensure that he had heard her and that she was hoping to regain some of the power. The content of the letter talks about how she remembered that he had said that he would keep her safe before he attacked her. She described how it had stopped being fun after she realised his intentions. She wrote that no means no and asked him, "Why didn't you stop when I asked you to?" She described how she had sat and cried for most of the night afterwards as she tried to figure out what had happened. She told him about the rape treatment centre. She wrote, "Do you even know how scary you are when that glazed look comes over you? I didn't see the fun-loving guy in front of me. I saw a man who couldn't control himself, and the word no is more of a challenge than a command." In the letter, Nadia told Brand that she did not press charges over the attack or give staff at the rape treatment centre his name, and questioned, "Why am I protecting you?" saying that although it was a felony, she didn't want to be responsible for life-changing repercussions and to be the one that crushes dreams. She has now said that she didn't want to be the reason that his career collapsed. Now, I know that certain people are querying the timing of why this has been done, and those are legitimate queries. But this isn't about the timing. This isn't about the wider suggestion that there is some kind of campaign to discredit Russell Brand. This is an analysis of what he is. If this evidence is credible, this shows a sense of entitlement, a lack of emotional empathy. It shows a narcissistic indicator with regard to the glazing over, the not being present. It shows a sense of entitlement to treat this person as an object. It shows a lack of accountability for the actions. It also shows a recognition, as per the text messages, that something wrong had been done, but shows no genuine contrition associated with them. As I've stated, you can weigh up whether you accept this evidence, but if you do, those are the things that would be drawn from it, which would support various narcissistic indicators. We will move on to different evidence in the next part. Join me there.